In the middle of the ocean, a woman's body sinks into the water, floating for a moment before her eyes open in panic. Suddenly, Brandon jolts awake. It was just a nightmare. He works as a bodyguard for the governor's daughter, Ava, still burdened by guilt for failing to protect her mother. Brandon accompanies Ava to the airport, where she meets her friends Jed and Kyle. They're heading on a trip, and though the boys aren't thrilled about Brandon tagging along, Ava explains her father wouldn't allow her to travel without security. Once aboard, they sit in the back for privacy. Ava notices how few passengers are on this flight. Strange, but she shrugs it off. Soon after takeoff, the plane trembles slightly. At first, it seems normal, but moments later it shakes again, and one engine starts to overheat. The pilot assures everyone they merely hit some birds, but the shaking worsens. Suddenly, an engine bursts into flames. The pilot commands everyone to fasten their seatbelts as panic spreads. A chunk of the engine breaks loose, smashes into the fuselage, and kills a passenger. The impact tears a hole in the plane, causing a violent decompression. Bags fly from overhead bins. Unbuckled passengers are thrown through the cabin. Within seconds, a section of the wall rips open, and people are sucked out into the sky. Brandon tries to save one man, but the force is too strong. Others are pulled out with their seats. Even a flight attendant is dragged into the storm. With most passengers gone, the plane plunges into the ocean. Water floods and instantly, Brandon is stabbed by metal debris. The wreck sinks to the seabed, stopping at an angle that creates a small air pocket in the rear, saving Ava, her friends, and flight attendant Danilo. Kyle, however, has a broken arm. As they hear unsettling creaks, Brandon appears, bringing two more survivors, Rosa and her grandmother, Marty, who is unconscious. Danilo performs CPR, and after tense moments, she wakes up. When Rosa asks about her grandfather, Brandon sadly tells her he didn't make it. The group panics, but Brandon takes command, assuring them they're safe for now and must stay calm until rescuers arrive. Ava checks her phone. No signal. She suggests swimming out, but Brandon warns their chances outside are slim. Danilo adds that the pilots must have called for help before the crash, so rescue should come soon. Brandon insists they need spare oxygen. Danilo checks the plane's emergency tanks, but finds them empty. Marty remembers a passenger had a medical oxygen tank. Brandon volunteers to retrieve it, and before diving, Marty asks him to bring back her husband's hat. Brandon swims through the wreckage, collecting the hat and the tank. He doesn't notice a dark figure glide by the window, until a massive shark bursts through the hole and attacks him. He fights desperately, struggling to break free. The others see the water ripple violently, then fall still. Moments later, Brandon resurfaces bleeding heavily. He hands over the tank and hat, apologizes to Ava, and is suddenly pulled back under. The shark devours him as the survivors watch in horror. Terrified, they hide in the crew area. Marty tends to Kyle's arm, setting the bone and fashioning a splint from magazines and bandages. Above the water, a helicopter searches for survivors, focusing on finding the governor's daughter, but finds nothing yet. Inside, the wreck creaks again, shifting dangerously. Danilo opens the oxygen tank Brandon retrieved, but outside, the water turns red. Sharks are feeding on the bodies. They swim past the windows, bumping into debris. Rosa panics, but Ava reassures her that rescue will come. The helicopter circles above, low on fuel. The group estimates they have 3 or 4 hours before the water rises to their air pocket, though leaks make that uncertain. Suddenly, the wreck slides down the seabed, rocks tumbling around them. It stops again at a steeper angle, flooding faster. Realizing the plane won't hold much longer, the group agrees they must swim out. They'll need a way to distract the sharks. Rosa remembers learning that sharks dislike bubbles. Kyle recalls that some passengers had scuba gear. Danilo says it's in the baggage hold, though the oxygen tanks are likely empty. Ava insists it's still worth trying. Jed grows hopeless. She retreats to the bathroom, breaking down as the metal groans around her. When she returns, she comforts Rosa, reminding her it's okay to be scared. Meanwhile, above the ocean, The helicopter has only 15 minutes of fuel left. Rescue finally spots floating debris. Two divers enter the water and soon locate the plane. The survivors wave at the window as one diver approaches the hole and the other signals that help is here. But before anyone can react, a shark appears behind him. The survivors shout and wave, but it's too late. The diver vanishes in a burst of bubbles. Moments later, his severed leg drifts past the window. The second diver doesn't return, and the group realizes both rescuers are gone. The helicopter, running out of fuel, marks the location and leaves, promising backup is on the way. Inside, Ava notes that if one diver is dead, his oxygen tank might still be nearby. She spots a shadow but can't tell what it is. Jed climbs onto the seats to check and slips into the water. The others panic until he resurfaces, laughing at his prank. But before he can climb back, a shark attacks. They pull him to safety, but his leg is gone. Marty uses seat belts to make a tourniquet as Jed breaks down, realizing his life will never be the same. Determined, Ava dives into the flooded baggage hold to find scuba gear. With a flare, she searches among the floating bags, startled by an octopus just as the light dies. The others wait anxiously until she reappears with 4 suits and masks. A sudden thud shakes the wreck. When they turn around, Jed has died from blood loss. Ava tries CPR, but Marty stops her gently. The plane shifts again, the cockpit snaps off and anchors it, but water floods faster. Remembering Rose's idea, they decide to use oxygen canisters from the masks to create bubbles and distract the sharks. Kyle panics, confessing he's a poor swimmer after a childhood trauma. With Ava and Rose's encouragement, he agrees to try. Marty insists on staying behind, saying she'd only slow them down. After a final goodbye to Jed, the survivors enter the water as the wreck begins to slide again. The cockpit falls into the abyss. The rest of the plane will soon follow. Marty urges Ava to take Rosa and go first. They swim through the corridor, but encounter a shark. They open a canister, releasing bubbles that drive it away. Kyle and Danilo follow behind. Marty watches them leave, accepting her fate as water rises around her. Kyle suddenly panics and swims back toward a small air pocket. Danilo tries to help, but a shark bursts from the baggage hold, killing Kyle instantly. Horrified, Danilo reunites with Ava and Rosa. They find one of the dead divers and take his tank. Ava helps Rosa and Danilo escape through the hole, but is blocked by another shark. She hides as it passes, though its tail knocks off her mask. When more sharks appear, she pushes forward through the wreckage as the plane collapses behind her. Just before it falls into the abyss, Ava escapes through the front and begins swimming upward. She runs out of air and passes out, but her flotation gear carries her to the surface. When she breaks through the waves, she gasps back to life. Helicopters appear above. Rescuers pull her aboard, where Danilo and Rosa are already safe. When Rosa asks about her grandmother, Ava tearfully tells her the truth. As a final goodbye, Rosa tosses her beloved plush toy into the sea before falling asleep in Ava's arms. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.